Well, welcome back. Eric Arnold here. Episode of Politics Barn. Here this September 12th, Friday, 2025. Obviously, the reason I'm making an episode now, after 6, 7, 8 months of no episodes, the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk. A tragedy. It's a tragedy, but it's so much more than that. It's an act of war committed by the political left in this country. It's something we've discussed previously in the Politics Barn. As you can tell, I'm not in the Politics Barn. It's been so many months since I've made one of these episodes that I've come to discover that the Politics Barn is no longer functional. We've got equipment that doesn't work. My wife is tearing the place apart, unbeknownst to me. So we're kind of shooting this episode catch as catch can. And I wanted to take a few days after the shooting took place on Wednesday afternoon, roughly maybe 2:30 Eastern time. I wanted to take a few days. I mean, I was just completely angry these past couple days. I'm still angry. Just probably 2 parts angry, 1 part sad. I played golf yesterday. The people I played golf with were probably wondering, what's wrong with this guy? Well, I just watched a guy who I kind of liked, who is an important guy for the country, get slaughtered in front of his wife and 2 small daughters. So that kind of pissed me off. Really kind of pissed me off. Let's talk who Charlie Kirk was, because I don't think a lot of you people have any idea who this guy was. You're maybe catching snippets of this on the news, and depending on what news outlet you're listening to, you're probably thinking he wasn't a very good guy, because of course that's all that the leftist media does is lie to you. Charlie Kirk was a very important person in the fight to win this country back from the communists. He believed in God. He believed in free speech. Pretty much he believed in everything that we believe in here in the Politics Barn. I think primarily, first and foremost, he believed in free speech. Now, how do I end every episode of the Politics Barn? I'm Eric Arnold, and I believe in free speech. That's how I end every episode, if this happens to be the first time you've ever seen me talk. So, Charlie Kirk and I were on the same wavelength as far as that went. He was only 31 years old. 31 years old, and his life snuffed out like that by a hateful communist. And how do I know the perpetrator's a communist? Well, he shot him, for Christ's sakes. He didn't do it because Charlie Kirk owed him a gambling debt, for Christ's sakes. He did it to shut him up. Communists cannot tolerate open debate. They cannot tolerate free speech. I don't even think they know what it is. Maybe they do and they just lie about it. Their favorite tactic is to shut people up, is to simply say anything that they say contrary to a communist belief is hate speech, that they're not allowed to speak. I've said this before. If you're friends with somebody and you're in an argument really about anything, it could be politics, it could be religion, it could be sports, it could be anything. It could be which of your wives is better looking, which of your kids is smarter, and the person you're debating, your friend if you will, won't let you talk. Do you want to be friends with that person? I mean, in other words, if they make their argument and then they say to you, now you can't talk. Anything you say that is contrary to the correct answer I just gave you is evil, is wrong, is hate speech, is misinformation. There's no debate. You're not allowed to debate. There's simply no debate about this. It's facts, facts, facts. My facts, of course, not yours. Do you want to be friends with that sort of person? You shouldn't. There's no reason for you to, because that's not a nice person. That's a person that has no respect for you. No respect for anything you think or believe. You don't want to be friends with that sort of person. Well, that's the modern Democrat Party. That's these people on the left, of which is one of the people who shot Charlie Kirk and killed him. Charlie, apparently what he would do is he'd go to these college campuses, and you're not going to find any more dedicated, committed communists in the whole world than on college campuses. It's a hotbed for evil. Now, a lot of these kids are just ignorant. They're just ignorant. They're just the real evil ones are the older people, the professors and whatnot, who should know better. But, perhaps they're just evil. And they're in love with a political ideology that has been proven throughout history to just be death, death, and more death. Everywhere communism has been tried has failed, usually with a pile of bodies in its wake. But there's still a lot of people out there, people that should know better, older people that just want to do it. They just want to have them some communism. Communism is basically, if you try to distill it to what its textbook definition is everybody shares and shares alike. If I have 3 apples and you don't have any, I'm supposed to give you at least 1 apple, probably 1.5, so we can all share and share alike. Well, it never works. It never has worked. It never will work. Invariably, what happens is that somebody has to have more power than somebody else. Otherwise, nothing ever gets done. So somebody has to be in charge and decide what's going to be done. In other words, well, okay, since we all own everything and we all own nothing at the same time, what do we decide to grow to eat? What are we going to eat? Well, should we grow potatoes or should we grow corn? Well, somebody's going to make that decision. So whoever is making that decision has more power than the other people. Well, invariably what happens is the people with the power start voting themselves more and more power, and even though it's all share and share alike, it never is. It never is. And anybody who doesn't want to share and share alike, maybe somebody has worked their whole life to gain a little piece of whatever, land or property or a car or whatever, and they've decided, what, I don't want to just give all this up to you people that have never worked a day in your life just because we've all decided now we love each other and we're going to all share and share alike. Maybe those people that have something that don't want to give it up, what do we do with them? Well, we kill them. That's the communist way. That's the only way you can get this thing to get going. You have to slaughter those people that don't want to start a communist society. And that's what has always happened in Russia in the late, 19 teens, when they got their revolution going. They slaughtered millions of their own people. China in the 1940s and 50s and 60s slaughtered millions of their own people. It's the only way you can do this sort of society is anyone that doesn't want to share and share alike, 86 out of here, dead. So it's a system that doesn't work. And the last thing they can tolerate is people arguing against the system. They cannot tolerate any sort of free speech. Well, Charlie Kirk, of course, recognized that this ideology has more than a foothold here in the United States right now. It's basically the prevalent way of thinking in the Democrat Party at the moment. So that is what Charlie Kirk was trying to convince these poor, ignorant college students who are being brainwashed the opposite way by their communist professors, the communist media. He would go into these college campuses and say, you're being lied to. You're being lied to. They're telling you that this communist way of thinking is some utopia that's never been tried before. Maybe you ought to think about what I'm talking about, which is individual responsibility, religion, love God, love Jesus Christ, treat other people the way you would want to be treated, crazy stuff like that. The sanctity of life, maybe that fetus inside a woman's body, maybe that fetus has some rights and maybe shouldn't just be slaughtered just because somebody decides they don't want to work the responsibility of taking care of it. Revolutionary ideas, I know that Charlie Kirk believed in. Now, being sarcastic, these are not revolutionary ideas. Frankly, they're ideas that the country's been founded on. But on a college campus, these fundamental ideas that made this country great, they've been laughed at, drug under the ground for so long on those campuses. That's the revolution. These traditional American values, you don't find them on college campuses. You find hardcore communists on those campuses. So he's going into the devil's den. I mean, literally, the devil's den. The devil controls college campuses, and there would go Charlie and say, hey, I want to talk about some conservative ideas. And so, the dude had balls, a set of balls like you cannot imagine. And it was working. He was effective. The numbers are measurable. That, 10, 15 years ago, you run into a 21-year-old male. It's a good chance he's a Democrat. Good chance he's a leftist. The numbers are coming around where these people now are these youngsters are starting to think for themselves a little bit, are perhaps being able, through efforts like Charlie's and his group Turning Point USA, through efforts like that, they're having access to alternate ideas. And some of these people are actually starting to see there's another way of thinking and saying to themselves, I don't know, you guys seem to have had this in your control for a long time, communists, and nothing seems to be getting any better. I don't have a lot of job prospects out there. I just spent $200, somebody spent, me and my family, somebody spent $200,000 to educate me, and I can't even get a $75,000 a year job. Who do I see about that? Well, that's the American system right now. You're paying for these ridiculously highly expensive educations. What did you learn other than how to be a little communist? So Charlie was getting these people to think differently, and it was being very effective. Charlie was an incredibly important person in the conservative movement. I would argue he's in the top 5 reasons as to why Donald Trump won the election. That's how important this guy was. Trump himself. There's another fellow running around right now. I hope he has security, named Scott Pressler. He's doing the dirty work of winning elections. The dirty work of winning elections is, I would argue, not having 50,000 people rallies and television commercials. The dirty work of winning elections is getting people to vote for your candidate. Getting them A, registered, and B, getting them to vote by any means. In other words, there's no reason why a Republican can't fill out a mail-in vote. This idea that the mail-in votes are evil, okay, whatever. It's the rules. If we're not going to play by the rules, we're simply going to lose. If the other team avails themselves of the full value of the rules and we don't, well, what are we doing here? We're just going to lose. So, and frankly, that's what happened in 2020. We just weren't prepared for full-on mail-in voting, which was basically just thrown at us within months by people that were prepared to do it. So that's one of the main reasons we lost in 2020. Well, guess what? We were a little more prepared in 24, and we won. And Charlie Kirk, Scott Pressler, these are the guys running around registering new Republican voters. Places like Pennsylvania, which have always trailed in registration. Now here, look, it's Politics 101. I know some of you people don't follow this stuff as closely as I do. But Politics 101 is, if you're registered as a Republican, there's a 90% chance you're going to vote Republican. Vice versa. So if the Democrats have a significant registration edge in Pennsylvania, it means they're favored to win Pennsylvania forever. So the only way you stop that is you got to close the registration gap. You got to get more of your people registered, or convince some of the Democrats to switch over. Now, Trump's been very successful in doing that. He's been able to get working class Democrats to come over and vote for him. And ultimately what's happening is, after they vote for him, they start to look at that registration card and go, why in the hell am I a Democrat? And then they switch parties. So that's been happening. But Pressler and Kirk would go out and get those people that have never registered. Kirk in particular would go get those young people who, think about it. How many times did you vote as children, when you were in your 20s? Maybe not all that often, if at all. He gets those people and says, you need to participate. Your future is being decided right now. Your next 30, 40 years is being decided right now. Wouldn't you like a say? And he's getting them to register and vote for our team. That's why he was killed, because he was so important. He was so good at what he was doing. He's hate-filled. Give me a break. From what I saw of Charlie Kirk, the dude would he would want to debate the issues with you. Yeah, he would give you a microphone at his events if you were a Democrat and say, here, go ahead, talk. Now, he would get the answer. He wouldn't just again, this is why they hated him, because he wanted to talk too. Oh, no. At his own event, go figure. He wants to talk. Go figure. So that's why they hated him, because he actually responded. He wouldn't meet them halfway and say, yeah, well, I know that it is possible that a man could become a woman. No, it's not. It's not possible. You can cut off whatever body parts you want if you're a man and want to become a woman. It doesn't change to make you a woman. You started as a man, that's what you are. If you lop your dick off, you're still a man. You're just a man without a dick, that's all. You're a man. God, nature, whatever you want to say, they made you that way, and doctors and chemicals, they can't change that. It's not possible. So this idea that, to take it even further, this idea that a child who hasn't even hit puberty yet might want to switch sexes somehow, might want to become the other sex. Well, A, too bad it's not possible, and B, it's a child. I mean, it's a kind of old joke. It's like, well, God, my child says he's an astronaut at age 4, so does that make him an astronaut? Jesus Christ, the kid is not capable of making these decisions yet. At least if you're going to go down that road, can't we wait till they're, actual adults? But no, the left won't even, oh yeah, absolutely. You want to be a fiddler crab? Well, here, go to the hospital and the doctors will turn you into a fiddler crab. Our fucking ass. It's unbelievable. It's inhuman. What it is because ultimately what ends up happening is these kids, as they're being tortured chemically in their teens or at puberty or whatever, at some point are going to go, man, I wish we had never gone down this road. I wish I had just left this alone and been like everybody else. But of course now it's too late and they're left in some kind of, mismatch. I want to be a man, but I lost my dick 3 years ago because I was 12 years old and everybody told me it'd be a good idea to cut it off. So I did, and I kind of want it back. But now they're telling me I can't have it back, and geez, can you see how those people might end up in therapy? My God. So Charlie Kirk would just point out the common sense of this type of stuff. Things that have been browbeaten for the last 20 years that we can't say these sort of things. I'm saying it now on YouTube, and this video will probably be censored by the communists at YouTube. But that was the sort of thing Charlie Kirk believed in, and they killed him for it. You know, first they censor you, then if you won't shut up, ultimately they kill you. Now, where do we go from here? You know, what do we do now? I've been doing this some thought, and you know, there's really only one answer. You can't answer these people with violence, because that's not what we believe in, and when we do that, we lose. We want to, I mean, I know it would feel good. Oh boy, would it feel good? Oh, it would feel good. I mean, it reminds me of that scene in Pulp Fiction where Vincent's talking to his drug dealer, Eric Stoltz there, and he's saying, somebody keyed my car. And he said, well, and they're talking about what kind of a low-down scumbag would key another man's car. And Vincent says, you know, it would almost be worth them keying the car just to be able to catch them keying the car. In other words, just the satisfaction of revenge would offset the heinous act itself that wanted you to get revenge in the first place. But, you know, we can't go there. You know, we just can't. Ultimately, what we have to do is start talking more. They want to shut us up. They want to shut us up. So we have to talk more. We have to talk more. I said to myself, I'm going to have to make videos again. I am going to have to start making these videos even if 3 people watch them. Just you know, just for Charlie Kirk. You know, Charlie Kirk's dead. He's dead. I'm an old man. He had his whole life ahead of him, and now he won't even get to do half of the things I've done because, you know, I've just lived longer, and he's gone. It's like, I feel like I'm obligated to make these videos now. That they want to shut us up. Well, maybe we shouldn't allow them to shut us up. That's what they want. They can't, I think Megyn Kelly said that you can't get us all. They might try, but it's probably right that you can't get us all, you know. We can talk a lot, and thank God with, you know, like, say, Elon Musk in having a platform. See, now there's an idea. I hadn't even thought of that till just now, that if YouTube cancels me because I just said a man is a man, and if he cuts his dick off, he's still a man. If YouTube axes that, I could go over to X and post it there. So, again, hard for them to shut us all up. We've got to do that. I mean, so, you know, basically what I'm saying is they cut down Charlie Kirk, 3 more people need to jump up in his place. They cut down them 3, 6 more need to get in there, and vice versa. It's like every time they murder or silence one of us, we've got to have 2 or 3 more ready to take his place. I don't know what else to do. You know, and the clear idea is not just talk, but we have to be convincing. We have to win elections. That is how we will rid ourselves of these hate-filled communists. Oh, you're never going to get rid of the communists. You've just got to be able to hope that normal people, I'll take my mother, I highly doubt she knows who Charlie Kirk is. She may have learned a little bit in the last 48 hours. How somebody named Charlie Kirk was murdered. Oh, gee, that seems bad. I don't know. And then she goes back to watching her British comedies or whatever, or not even comedies. I don't want you to get the idea that my mother watches Monty Python. She's not nearly that cool. She watches, you know, Murder, She Wrote, or whatever crap 90-year-old women watch. But she might have some idea now who Charlie Kirk is, but probably not. And I doubt she's all that upset and realizing what a moment this was. What a terrible fork in the road this has been. I heard somebody, I won't claim credit for this one myself because I read it and I thought, yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, this guy could be the right wing's Martin Luther King. He was that important of a thought leader. The word today is they use is influencer. You know, I don't know anyone ever called Martin Luther King an influencer, but ultimately that's what he was. He's a leader. Charlie Kirk was a leader. And I mean, he, for example, so much more important than your run-of-the-mill senator or governor. I would say this guy was akin to a DeSantis or an Abbott in Texas, the governors. That's how important this guy was. And that's why they murdered him. You know, you don't murder guys that don't matter when you're trying to make a political statement. You do it publicly to try to terrorize everybody, as well as shut up the person that you want to shut up. So that's how you fight back. People like me, you know, I'm going to make videos now. I don't know how many, but it'll be more than one in every 8 months. I can promise you that. Because I'm pissed. I'm angry. We can't just let this happen. This is evil. I mean, it's straight up evil. And how are you going to respond? It's not close. It's not a debatable point. The left wants you to believe there's some equivalency here, like Charlie Kirk asked for it. Oh, by what? Arguing what he believed in, traditional American values. That's what he did. He just wanted to debate the issues, and they murdered him for it. And they want you to believe he asked for it. Bullshit. Bullshit. So we're going to argue the issues now. And let's see how many more of us they kill. I'm sure there'll be more. It's almost unquestioned that there's going to be more of this just because nobody's said no to these people yet. They've lost one election. They don't draw any equivalency to this yet. It's when normal Democrats that I'm going to lump a lot of my family members into this, unfortunately. I don't think they're evil. They just cannot get past the fact of how much they hate Donald Trump. They've convinced themselves, with the help of a lot of evil people, that Donald Trump is somehow the Antichrist, and they're doing the work of angels by resisting him. Now, I wonder how they feel about the murder of Charlie Kirk. It's like, do you feel like you're doing the work of angels now? You know, are you out there being happy that this guy's dead, that his family is without a father? Are you happy about that? Because if you are, stay the fuck away from me. You know, if you slit that slip around me, whatever circle you're in, you're out of that circle, you're out of the circle next to it, you're out of all the fucking circles. You're just out. You're out. You know, I don't want to be associated with you. If you're happy Charlie Kirk's dead, you just hope that I don't know that. You know, if you don't want to be in my circles, go ahead, tell me. Then that's good. All right. We probably won't shake hands. I'll just say, okay, very good. But I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You're out. You're out of the circles. I don't want to be associated with hate-filled people like that. That's disgusting. Who are you? I mean, think about that before you run around and post in the comments, yeah, I'm glad he's dead. Yeah. It's like, are you willing? I guess that's probably one of the reasons you're probably happy is you don't believe in God. You don't believe there is a heaven. You don't believe that you're someday going to have to answer for that kind of stuff where St. Peter's is going to be standing there at the gate going, now what about this, I'm glad he's dead, ha ha ha, you know, you posted that on such and such a date, on such and such a time, you know, and then you're going to say, oh, I'm so sorry about that, jeez. You know, I don't know they're going to believe you, that you are sorry. You know, it's sorry you got caught or sorry you're being held account for it. I know you'll be shocked as hell that you're even there to begin with, going, whoa, oh, there is an afterlife. Uh-oh. Well, I wasn't that bad, you know. Charlie Kirk was a bad guy, right? You know, and to your shock, he's on the other side of the gate there going, I don't see, that's a hell of it. He'll say, let you in. Charlie Kirk, the guy that you made fun of, the guy that you celebrated his death, he'll be on the other side of the gate, and he'll say, "Well, go ahead, let him in. Let him in." I wonder if they will let you in. I wonder. But anyway, I mean, you have to hope that at some point some of these Democrats are just, they can't bring themselves to agree with Donald Trump because they just, people would rather kill themselves than admit they're wrong. They'd rather set themselves on fire than admit they're wrong, especially women. So they can't go there. They just can't. But this might be revolting enough that they look at it and go, "Oh, I'm so uncomfortable with this." And, maybe at some point then they'll start just not tuning in to that MSNBC channel quite as often, or, just kind of taking a step away from their team's rhetoric because it's making them uncomfortable. This is what we have to hope is going to happen at some point, that, they're on a team that is resorting to straight up murder. Straight up murder. I know they're going to tell themselves 100 different things and try to convince themselves that's not what's happening. How the hell do you think this 22-year-old kid, came to hate Charlie Kirk so much that he decided he needed to murder him? How do you think that happened? I mean, was he like that 10 years ago when he was 12? I doubt it. He's been brainwashed by the left, by the education system, by the media. They've been pounding into his head. Bang, bang, win at any cost. They're Hitler. We have to win at all costs. Do whatever it takes. They're murderers. They're killers. They're Nazis. They just pound that into these poor kids. And you end up with, the hell's his name? Tyler Robinson? And then you end up with that. So they own this. These bastards want to shut us up by any means necessary. They cannot win an honest, open debate of ideas, so they have to resort to measures of calling anything that they don't like hate speech, disinformation, censorship, and ultimately now murder. Bastards. Goddamn bastards. So be prepared to do your share. I'm going to make videos. I've contributed money. Charlie Kirk has a group called Turning Point USA. That's the group that funds his ability to go around the country and try to give these kids that are being brainwashed alternatives and let them think for themselves. Well, that takes money. I contribute to his group, Turning Point USA. I certainly did after he got murdered. You should too. Look it up. Turning Point USA. The least you can do is kick him a few bucks. They send you a little hat. It has the number 47 on it. 47 for Donald Trump. But these are the people standing tall against the murderers in the country, and maybe you should support them a little bit. Christ, the least you can do is go out and vote, and I mean not just every 4 years. We got a bunch of these other elections called local elections, municipal elections, midterm elections, and a lot of you don't vote. Charlie Kirk voted in those elections. Charlie Kirk did a hell of a lot, and now he's dead. Maybe you should do a little, just to kind of, feel sorry for him or support him. So, yeah, these are just bare minimum of things we should be doing. But if we do nothing, I promise you what's going to happen is if we do nothing, we're going to lose the next midterm and then presidential election. The communists are going to be back in charge, and God help us then. Because then it's really going to be open season on us. Not just a lone gunman. I believe this guy's a lone gunman like I believe in the Easter Bunny. But it's going to be the government itself hunting us down then, not just other citizens. It's going to be government-sponsored domestic terrorism, just like it was before 2024, except it'll be 10 times worse. So you don't want it to get out of control? Well, then you better do something to try to keep control of the government. You better get involved. All right, that's all I got. I'm Eric Arnold. I believe in free speech. Charlie Kirk believed in free speech. He's dead. It seems to me that somebody doesn't want us to have free speech. That's why we have to use it. We like it, we have to use it, or we'll end up dead too. The old Ben Franklin from the Revolution. If we don't all hang together, I assure you we'll all hang separately. So now is not the time to go our separate ways. We need to band together and hang together and speak together. For Charlie, if for no other reason. See you again.